Welcome to Roguecast, the official podcast of Rogues Gallery. We'll talk comics for the week, as well as whatever news is on our pop cultural radar. I'm Randy.
I'm Nick.
This is Dave.
And now, on with the show. All right, we're back in Weather Talk. It's cold outside, but not quite cold enough. So the heat is on. We had to turn it off so that we wouldn't all go in torpor here in the office.
Yeah, it was like a nice sauna in here. It was pleasant if you want to rest.
Yeah.
But not if you want to podcast.
We want to be focused and hyped for podcasting.
That's right. We need to keep excited and aroused as we podcast to you.
So let's start. Let's start at the top by addressing the British elephant in the room and just saying we're not going to talk too much about it. But if you haven't heard, Neil Gaiman, it turns out, is a monster.
Yeah.
I don't recommend reading the article. It's got content warnings. If you really need to know, you can go read it. It was done by New York Magazine's Vulture.
Yeah,
and
you can find the info out there because it's also been covered in the last several months by other places.
The official Rogues Gallery position is we are gonna not be carrying his stuff anymore. If anyone desperately wants it, buy it now because we're not reordering it without special orders and that kind of thing. On the other Life's Got Interesting thing, you may have heard about Diamond.
Yep.
And I figure people are going to want to know what our thoughts on that. We have divested ourselves from Diamond in a lot of ways already.
But we should quick say what the Diamond news was. Diamond, which used to be literally the one and only comic distributor in North America that was any.
It was a monopoly.
Yeah, it was a monopoly. We went with them for years and years and years and years, and had our ups and downs. But sort of roughly in the pandemic, several of the big publishers, DC, Marvel, Image, they started moving to other distributors. And so Diamond has been left with not too many under their umbrella, and we knew they were probably going to go down, and it looks like it's happening.
Yep. Well, and that is one of the reasons why we changed point of sale systems.
Yep.
We've been on this for about 2 years. We've been watching for this. So
good job, Randy.
We're prepared for it.
You got us rolling early.
So really for us, the main thing, if we see anything, will be Boom will be moving to Penguin in May. That was already in the works. Yeah. So there may be disruption in like Boom, Dynamite, and Distillery Comics is the big thing we may see.
Penguin Random House is the same guys we get our Marvel stuff from.
Yeah, they do Marvel, IDW, Dark Horse. They will be getting Boom, which they just bought. We get Image, Oni, several others from Lunar. We get Viz from Simon & Schuster. We have a bunch of distributors. If it ever seems like I'm losing more hair, it is because I went from dealing with 1 or 2 distributors to like 20. But the upside of that is that one distributor going out is not going to do a lot to us on a micro level.
Yeah. Right. Other stores that are a little bit that hadn't kind of divested themselves of Diamond are in a bit more of a spot, and hopefully everybody will do okay. But very specifically, they filed for Chapter 11.
Yes, they're reorganizing. It is entirely possible Diamond will continue to be a going concern. We don't really know.
Right. It's making headlines, but we don't know the end result.
Right.
But I would say the short version, at least as far as our store is concerned, is don't panic.
We're good. Don't worry about
okay.
this. Yeah, we've got things covered. We've been watching out for this. We are prepared.
Yep, we're looking out for us. We're looking out for you.
Yes, but especially us.
But especially us.
No, especially you, the customer. We love you the most.
That's right.
We sang the Scar Be Prepared song.
I don't know about that.
We actually sang Werewolf of London, weirdly.
Oh, okay.
Complete with werewolf yips. All right. Games are starting to come back out after the holidays.
Yep.
We got a wave of stuff from Asmodee. There is a new co-op Metal Gear Solid game.
I was going to say, the only game we should be talking about because it's so awesome.
Right.
It comes with boxes that you can hide minis under.
Because it should come with... And one box, the actual box it comes in, you should be able to, like, get into.
I mean, that would be amazing.
But this is kind of one of those pricier games. It's like a bigger game. It's not as Gloomhaven big, but it's big.
It's big. Yeah.
And it's a cooperative game. You play as heroes from the PlayStation 1 Metal Gear Solid. So Snake is obviously the big one, but there's also Meryl and Otacon.
And possibly somebody could play the Rogue Ninja.
Yeah, we're not sure on that. He's gray colored.
He's gray colored.
Fits.
Unlike the villains, which are blue.
It's got all the big bosses too. Psycho Mantis, Vulcan Raven. Never forget Revolver Ocelot.
Never forget.
But the kind of neat way the game works is it seems to be a sort of modular recreation of the base that's infiltrated in it. So when you play, you're not going to know what order the rooms will appear in and quite what will be the challenges will be. And but yeah, it recreates the exciting events of Shadow Moses Island.
cool.
It sounds pretty cool. Somebody get it and tell us how it is.
For me, one of the big exciting things this week was Ethnos 2nd Edition. This was a game I played last year. It's been out of print for a while.
I remember you mentioning it.
Yeah, it's an area control game where you buy like sets of cards. They had it was like fantasy races, so it was like unicorn or like dwarves, elves.
Mm-hmm.
I think there were some weirder ones like undead, and there was a bunch of different. They have reskinned it to be unique animal clans. The art looks great, and I don't know if they've tweaked anything else. It looks like it goes up to 6 players, which I don't remember the previous one going up to. But basically, you are collecting, you're sort of drafting cards and trying to build sets while everyone else is trying to build theirs, and those sets will let you control areas of territory.
Okay.
Really fun. A pretty easy game to learn. BGG weights it at 2 out of 5. It's a quick game, plays in like 45 minutes.
Sorry, what's the 2 out of 5 thing?
That's their weight.
Oh, okay.
Game weight.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of fun. I would definitely recommend it. I've played with a lot of people, and I'm glad to see a new version of it. And the new version is very pretty. I want to pick it up. There's a new game called Nova Era from Asmodee. Well, it's not from Asmodee. They distribute it.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's about building a civilization. Looks like a sort of a dice drafting mechanic. Mm-hmm. Again, pretty cool looking.
It does look cool.
Looks like it plays again 60, 90 minutes, pretty quick. Looks fun to me. I'm curious about that one as well. We got Boblins Rebellion. Y'all may know we have a game called Dungeon Drop, which is a dice-based dungeon exploring game.
Mm-hmm.
This is a variation on that, where you play goblins who are deciding to rebel and then overthrow whoever the dungeon master is.
And that's kind of fun.
That's cool.
It looks like fun. The box promises a lot of green goblin-shaped dice.
And by the way, is the game called Boblin?
Boblin the Goblin.
Okay.
It's his rebellion.
All right. It's like a goblin named Bob, full name Boblin.
Boblin the Goblin. Boblin the Goblin.
Just checking. Okay.
Yeah.
Carry on.
There's a small game named Obelis, or probably Obelis, or whatever.
Is Boblin in it?
Boblin does not seem to be in it.
Okay.
Oblin might be. This is a little 2-player strategy game, I guess.
Okay.
Quick play, lightweight. Plays in 10 to 15 minutes.
The 2-player games continue to grow.
The 2-player games continue to grow. We saw Flutter, which Nick, you and I were looking at this one.
Oh, yeah, I thought the art style is gorgeous.
Yeah.
But it looks like I don't know the game mechanics or anything, but it looks like kind of Tetris-esque. You're fitting things together to make kind of a mosaic. And like pollinate. You're building like flower farms and pollinating them and trying to... I don't know, but it looks like a ton of fun.
You're trying to grow a meadow of diverse flowers to attract fluttering pollinators. So you want to get hummingbirds, dragonflies, moths, butterflies, ladybugs.
It sounds like a chill game.
And bees, the kings of all pollinators, is what it says here.
I mean,
it's a tile laying game. So yeah, Carcassonne,
right?
What they call a polyomino a little bit. That's sort of like Tetris style.
Yep.
Yeah, looks like fun. And it's for 8 and up, so you can actually play with younger players.
That's awesome.
And then we got a game called Nyakuza, which is like Yakuza with an N, but also like Nyan Cat, I believe, is what they're referencing.
It's little cat mobsters.
Little cat mobsters. You are trying to bid for the best building sites and most profitable resources in Japan. Sorry. This is on Easter Island. I thought it was in Japan.
Okay.
I have totally changed it.
All right. Re-envision whatever we just said, but with giant Easter Island statues somehow.
Anyway, this looks cute and fun.
Yep.
All right. That's games. Let's talk about comics for the week.
Okay.
I guess the big release is Ultimate Wolverine #1.
It's true.
You say that's the big release. I say Rogue Savage Land is, but carry on.
Arguable. Yeah, that's fair.
Ultimate Wolverine is what? Chris Condon and...
the guy who wrote that Texas Blood.
And he's currently writing Green Arrow.
Nick reminds me.
Yep.
It's what do they call him, like the Winter Soldier in this, right? He is in the Ultimate Universe.
He is the Weapon X of
Russia?
Colossus, Magic, and Omega Red, who run the evil Russia
Super
in
Russia.
the Ultimate World.
And it looks like it jumps around in time a little bit, like showing how he was created.
He engages in some violence in it.
And there is violence.
And I'm going to say that several, or at least a few of the characters he runs up against do not survive.
It's true.
Now, that's typical, but some of these characters are named characters.
Yeah.
I was surprised they killed off these two characters.
I know, I was extremely surprised.
But you know, this ain't your daddy's Ultimate Universe, Randy.
It's not.
That was called the Ultimate Universe.
What is this called?
The Ultimate Universe.
Oh.
There's an inflection on the U that wasn't there,
Ultimate,
before.
But yeah, so miniseries, ongoing series,
Ongoing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So yeah, this is the ground floor if you want to see Ultimate Logan. Well, we assume it's Logan.
We assume it's Logan. It looks like Logan.
He's got a mask.
It's Logan.
Yeah, he was doing Logan.
They actually mention his name.
Yeah,
yes.
that's right.
It is like a different take on what basically Department H did to him.
Yep. Yeah.
Prior.
And there are indeed elements of Winter Soldier stuff in there.
Yep.
So yeah, but some cool ideas.
And if you ever want to see Evil Colossus.
Sure. Dave, give me your pitch for Rogue Savage Land.
I don't know. I didn't read it.
So this is...
But once upon a time in the 1990s.
Yes.
Yep.
And Nick lived it.
I did.
There was just a one issue.
It was.
Well, it was one issue, but the story lasted.
The story lasted a while, but the main issue of that did happen in what is it, Uncanny 249?
I don't know. We have a reprint of it.
Yeah.
We do.
Anyway,
Rogue was in the Savage Land. She had lost her Miss Marvel powers. She had, I'd forgotten, gone through the Siege Perilous.
Yeah.
This is when all the X-Men went through the Siege Perilous and were recreated. This is how Psylocke became an Asian ninja instead of a British woman.
Oh, interesting.
So she was chased down by a zombie Miss Marvel.
Okay.
Who was mad at her for stealing her powers in her life.
Yep.
And she wanted to the Savage Land. She was saved from zombie Miss Marvel by Magneto in the Savage Land. I'd forgotten all of this. It happens in this issue. This Rogue in the Savage Land is a miniseries exploring all the time she spent in the Savage Land.
So this is taking place after Uncanny X-Men 247.
But the most important short pitch is Rogue in a torn-up kind of caveman bikini running around in the Savage Land with dinosaurs.
With Daddy Magneto.
And Daddy Magneto, yeah. Who, if you watched X-Men 97, they elaborated a bit more on it than that already.
Because don't forget, look at the cover, Dave. Magneto has his costume is sexily torn to reveal his bare, hairy chest.
Yep, this was the beginning of his Silver Fox days.
His Silver Fox days.
Theoretically, he'd been a Silver Fox basically since conception, but they just hadn't leaned into it until he was hanging out with Rogue.
But Tim Seeley, who writes this, does a good job of capturing what people want out of this, which is fun in the Savage Land. Zabu and Kazar show up. Yep. Zaladane is the bad guy.
Yep. A powerless rogue.
A powerless rogue. Although she has her absorbing powers. It's just that there aren't any mutants around. Yeah. So basically, she's powerless.
Right. She doesn't have she
doesn't have strength and flight and all that stuff. It was fun. I thought it was a fun. If you want to see more of this kind of setting, and who doesn't?
Tim Seeley is a writer who we've liked best on, I would say, Hack Slash, Grayson, and Money Shot, or Money Shots, whatever that was.
Money Shot.
His naughty.
He likes
future scientists who get no funding and have to get funded by making porn.
His stuff is best when it is a little bit naughty, and this is a little bit naughty.
Yep. So there we go. They picked the right man.
I thought the art in here was pretty good.
It was pretty good. Yeah.
What else?
Green Lantern Fractured Special. This just sets up a new story arc for
kind of a new
Green
direction
Lantern.
for all things Lantern.
Yep.
Focusing on all the various lanterns, honestly.
Right.
They all get kind of a little bit of the limelight. Guy Gardner, Kyle Rayner back in his looks like a variant of his '90s costume.
It's a good solid costume. Yes.
Yeah. Basically about installing a new power battery on Oa, and a character steals something from them. So yeah, it's more Green Lantern.
Okay. Yep.
Boom has a new book called When I Lay My Vengeance Upon Thee, which I didn't get a chance to read, but appears to be about two-fisted priests.
So the vibe I got when I was making the sign for it was that it is about an apprentice exorcist who I think it actually reminded me when they did the TV show of The Exorcist where Gina Davis played with the mom whose daughter was maybe possessed. And it was, in fact, it would later be revealed that she was, in fact, the grown-up Regan. However you say it, from the original Exorcist. Who had changed her name because it got all this national publicity at the time because her mom was a famous actress. And I was like, that all made sense. It was actually a smartly written show. But anyway, I think similar. There was an event going on where it seemed like there were almost like a wave of possessions happening in the city, and her daughter was a part of that, and so there was a broader demonic plot. It seems like something like that is going on in this, and through the eyes of an apprentice exorcist and his mentor, we witness it. So that sounded pretty interesting.
It does.
I don't know anything. I didn't get a chance to read it, but I'm gonna check it out.
There is also from Boom, Jim Henson Presents, which appears to have all the Jim Henson puppets.
It's an anthology series where each issue is going to have, I think 3 stories or so that are set in the various kind of notable worlds of Jim Henson. So among them, Fraggle Rock, The Dark Crystal, Farscape even, and Labyrinth, yeah. And I think they even mentioned the storyteller stuff
So you're
show
telling
in
me
there.
there are going to be Fraggle Rock people in Labyrinth Land?
No, they seem to be separate
Sadly,
so far.
no. But they've got the licenses. They could do it if they wanted.
They could.
If you want to see people from Farscape shoot a laser through a Fraggle...
I'm just saying, a Labyrinth Dark Crystal makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
You'd think, but Dark Crystal is so messed up. It's so
it is.
twisted.
It's true.
It'd be they'd be she's running from singing puppets and stuff in the labyrinth, and then rounds a corner and there's terrifying giant crabs.
It's true.
And they just crush her.
Well, that was her end.
That was it. That was it. She was a little whiny in that.
I mean, she was.
There's Finders Keepers from Image. This is one of their one-shots, the Horizon Experiment, which is sort of about creating protagonists from a marginalized background set in a popular genre.
We've seen a couple.
Yeah, they're all about sort of flipping the script on expected tropes, but still working within those.
This is the reverse Indiana Jones, an indigenous woman who goes around and grabs artifacts back from museums.
Yeah, busts them out of museums and returns them to the culture from which they were pillaged, basically.
Yep.
That's a cool idea.
I think it is a cool idea. I'm going to give it a look later.
We got Zootopia #1.
Right.
Yeah,
I believe this is kind of set between the movies.
Correct.
A lost adventure before Zootopia 2 hits.
Yep.
But yeah, that's it. Zootopia is a really good movie and has a cool setting.
If you want to see more of furry cops, here you go.
Yeah. If that's your thing, no judgment, man.
And the last #1 is You Won't Feel a Thing, the creepily titled Snyder Jock Distillery book.
Yeah.
Did you read this?
I didn't.
I think I'm the only one who read this. So it is about an older guy who was an FBI profiler. He's got a tumor, so he's not got long to live. He is in elder care, but he really his grown son is trying to get him to move to basically memory care and stop being free to move about, and he really resists that because he still wants to track down this chattering man, the serial killer who he believed killed one of his first girlfriend. And he thinks he can pin 20 murders on this guy, but no one has ever seen him, and so people don't really think he exists.
Yeah, you said it's like an urban legend kind of killer.
It's almost like that, yeah. It's basically people have heard of him, but nobody's seen any proof of him.
Right.
And so...
with his end approaching, something new falls into his lap, or the killings begin again?
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
Yeah, it sounds interesting. I know. So the big thing about this is that Scott Snyder is reuniting with the guy he worked on with one of his first horror projects, which was Jock. And the project was Witches. Yep, spelled with a Y in it.
Witches.
Yep, and
Batman Black Mirror.
And that's right. They collaborated on that too.
Yep.
So yeah, those guys back together again.
Other than that, there's the second issues of Laura Kinney Wolverine, which sees her facing off with Elektra.
Yep.
Second issue of Challenge the Unknown.
Great artwork.
New issues of Storm, Star Trek Lower Decks, Question Along the Watchtower, Exceptional X-Men. Oh, here's my... G.I. Joe #3 is this week, which I think we all really enjoyed.
Fun issue.
Yeah.
I'm going to call it the best issue of the week.
I think it's probably my pick.
It's...
Also, I
have 3 picks this week that aren't... None of them are quite I love it! But they're all good. G.I. Joe is one of them, but I also like New Gods 2.
Yeah, New Gods 2 was really good.
And one book that we're not going to have many for the shelf on, but I'll mention it in a second.
I want one of these coffee cups that Duke and Risk are breaking on the cover of G.I. Joe.
Skybound does merch, so it wouldn't shock me.
I wouldn't shock me either. I'm just saying, come on.
It looks to me on the cover like somebody cut it in half with a ninja sword. It broke very perfectly.
Yep.
But it's just supposed to be debris, so I don't know quite why that is.
You're right, David. It does look ninja sword cut.
But it's the art is so good that it just seems like It's weird that thing is like done like that.
Yeah, Tom Riley's getting a host of fun things to draw in this series.
And I'll say this: the kind of the star of this issue is sort of two things. One is there's a face-off. There's a fight between Duke and the new guy Risk, who Duke feels is disrespecting one of the honored dead, and they get into a big fight over it. And then, awesomely, Clutch managed to infiltrate the Vipers at the Cobra base. And they do such a good job because the Vipers have very cool armor and uniforms. And they draw Clutch in it, and you just see a little bit of his hair from his head sticking out in the back, so you know the whole time which one is him. And he's trying to stay undercover, all, like Metal Gear style, and yet Cobra seems worried about an infiltrator, and then that's its own kind of interesting subplot. There's a great scene with Cobra Commander. Anyway, good times.
And another subplot involving a character from the Hama books.
Yep.
Also, really like their Crimson Guard, which makes its appearance here.
Yeah.
Yes.
Batman and Robin number 4. More great art from Chris Samney.
Yep.
And Batman comes face to face with the villain of the piece. Your Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man number 2, which introduces the wrestling thing. And
the wrestling thing.
The wrestling thing that he does. This is early days.
Oh, it's a flashback to it?
No, this whole thing takes place.
Friendly Neighborhood.
Yes.
Not amazing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
And then it also introduces him creating his web shooters, which I really like this. They've got the new costume, or the old costume, this one. He has like big tanks of web fluid on his back.
Yeah, that was in all the trailers for the cartoon and stuff, and
he hasn't perfected it yet.
That was a kind of a fun idea.
He also has a throwdown with the Enforcers, old school villains who I always like.
Yeah. I do too, and they shouldn't work. It's like there's a strong guy and a guy who does rope tricks and a guy who knows the then wild art of judo or jujitsu. Okay, yeah.
Fancy Dan,
but I love the Enforcers.
Yep, me too. I don't know why, but they always work for me.
They're like they're kind of like low level tough guys, but they've got attitude and bravado and played right.
Like ox.
And they played right. They're very cool.
Shadow Cabinet number 3 of 4. This is Milestone Universe's kind of Kingdom Come. I am enjoying this so far. I'm curious to see how it wraps up.
That was pretty good.
The final issue of Avengers Assemble, the Avengers Rescue Team, in which they fight the Serpent Society, or in cool Avengers jackets. Which really, you put those two things, doesn't matter what the writing art is good, but the writing art is solid, so I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
What else y'all got to add there?
I have an issue of Moon is Following Us, the 5th one of those. It's been the fantastic
Daniel
series.
Warren Johnson.
Daniel Warren Johnson
and
writing.
Riley Rossmo.
And Riley Rossmo
That's a good team.
Kind
it
of
is.
like
it is.
nightmares and dreams, escape worlds. It's a lot of fun.
Right, and just as a reminder, that writer is the guy who's been writing the new Transformers from the beginning.
Issue of Nightwing, there's some backstory revealed about a case that he and Batman worked as a gang war unfolds in Bloodhaven. I'm actually really enjoying what Dan Waters is doing with Nightwing. It's been entertaining.
Yeah.
And then the second issue of Alien Paradiso, which continues to see aliens run amok on basically a paradise island that's supposed to be like a getaway.
Kind of a fun idea. One of the only colonies in all of the lore that isn't like a rainy hellhole.
And it's becoming a rainy hellhole.
Well,
not a rainy hellhole, just a hellhole.
You get it once you get aliens. That's how you get aliens.
That's how you get aliens.
Yeah. That is how you get aliens. Anyway, I wanted to quick zero in for just a second on New Gods 2 from Ram V, which there's kind of two things going on in here. One is sort of these cuts to the source wall, which have like big prophetic stuff and big Kirby language stuff, and it's a little bit of the lore that is honestly slightly boring to me most of the time. But the way he uses it, where it's only like bookends it or kind of accents it, I like.
Yeah.
And the art is very beautiful on it. There's also goings on Apocalypse in this one because Darkseid is gone.
Yeah.
And it's not civil war,
but there's infighting.
It's chaotic.
Yeah.
And Ram V writes some interesting stuff. And then the most interesting part of it to me is the most down-to-earth one. Scott Free, who in the first issue was asked by the warrior, super brutal warrior Orion. Orion comes to Earth and he says, I've been tasked with killing this demigod child that will be born.
Yeah.
And he's like, and weirdly, Highfather, normally a very nice guy, their nice Zeus,
Yes.
asked him to do it, and he's like, I take it at face value, and I'm a warrior who will do whatever
He
it
will
takes.
never-
He's like, I will do it.
He will never disobey an order that Highfather gives him.
But he has a sense of morality, and he's like, Scott, hide this kid. He's like, don't make me do it.
But there's an...
And then, so Scott is like, even though he's a new dad and all this, is like, I'm going to go do this. It's the right thing to do, and is writing a letter to Barda about, hey, man, like, I'm sorry, babe. I know we're building this life, but I have to do what I have to do. And then so there's some interesting turns of events.
Sorry, honey, I have to go hide a baby from our murderous friend.
I will say, I did not know...
She was raised by Granny Goodness. She gets it. She gets it.
I will say, I did not know or remember their baby's name.
It's pretty clever.
What is your baby's name?
Olivia.
Live free.
That's great.
It's a very Kirby name. Like, it would be cheesy if it wasn't like that. Kirby was always doing
Yeah, it
wild
somehow
names
is
like that.
equally parts cheesy and equally parts... It feels right.
I mean,
Okay, all right.
we're talking about lore that includes Granny Goodness, Scott-Free, her dad.
Yep.
And I forgot, look at this art, Nick. How
I know.
good is that?
It's so gorgeous.
And then there is there's another subplot going about the birth of the demigod child, New God.
New God.
And it's taking place in India, and it's actually very interesting. The mother and father are quite interesting characters, very unique characters. So I'm really quite liking this book. New Gods is always so hard to get right. I love them as a concept, but it's rare that I'm really intrigued.
Right.
This one is doing it so far.
Ramvi's a really good writer. I'm not always into his stuff, but if you asked
has
who
more
should do
hits.
New Gods, he's the guy. His stuff that he's done with like Gods on
The miniseries for
the miniseries over at Boom.
Oh, he did the
Layla's
Case of Layla.
Layla Star, and
Yeah.
then he did the Rakshasha one,
Which is also very good.
The Rare Flavors.
Yeah, the what is it? The people-eating demon who wanted to be a chef.
Yep.
Yep.
Wanted to be Anthony Bourdain.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fun
essentially.
concept.
And there
it
was
done
also,
really well.
what was the other one about? Like, sort of the bureaucracy of the afterlife?
Of the Afterlife.
Yep.
Yeah, really good.
And lastly, I want to mention, even though it quite possibly will have sold out when you come to the store, Action Comics number 1082. The writer, is it John Ridley? Is that
It
his
is.
name?
It is. Yep.
Who wrote the movie 12 Years a Slave and got an Oscar for that script and stuff like that.
This is a part of their what's the
They call it Superman Superstars. It's when they bring in kind of bigger name writers and you just do 3 issues.
they did Jason Aaron
And Gail Simone, and we really like that.
You made me
Aaron
read
one in
this, and
particular.
I thought you were crazy, especially because of the cover.
The cover is so hokey. So on the cover, Superman in the rain, it looks like he's lecturing the villain, even though he has a kind of cool costume, Major Disaster, and Superman's word balloon, which I don't even like word balloons on covers, is
really
going,
good idea.
I believed in you, Major Disaster, like he's judging him.
Yep.
But that is what the story is about. It's just 1,000 times better, because what happened is... in the opening sequence, there's disasters happening around Metropolis. That is this guy's power, even though he's usually a C or even Z-list villain. And Superman and Superman is helping out with them, and somebody dies during one of them, and he shows up to like bring down Major Disaster, and his eyes are glowing, and he is like in like kill mode, like
Essentially,
and
more angry than he typically ever is.
Yep, but Major Disaster like surrenders himself, and he's kind of seems to be like, I suck as a person, and I'm sorry, I just do I'm never going to get fixed.
Right.
But Superman had backed him previously. I don't know if that was something that was actually in an issue, or he's filling in the backstory that's original.
I don't know.
But he apparently was sort of like, hey, I think you can recover, you can make it with your life. And it's almost like an allegory of like, oh, I've got a friend who's trying to get, through their alcoholism, and then they fall back on it, and you're like disappointed in them. At the same time, it's tragic and all this stuff. Yeah. And so Clark is disappointed and broken up about it and angry at him. And but in talking to Lois, she suggests, because he thinks that maybe something literally happened, like somebody messed with him, like manipulated him or something, did something to his mind. And she's like, some people it just happens to. They're just, they're not all as good as you, Clark. And we've seen this kind of story before, but he zeroes in on Clark struggling with it and actually talking to some of his old accomplices and doing investigator stuff as he tries to get to the bottom of why Major Disaster kind of fell off the wagon.
Yes, it's kind of an internal struggle for Clark as to...
Right, he's trying to figure out, am I being naive?
Right.
Or is there something going on?
Is my hopefulness, like, a detriment?
A liability, yeah. But it's not treated like in that way where it's like, I don't know, like embarrassed to be about Superman or anything like that. I feel like it's on his side, but it's acknowledging that this is a tough question.
Yeah.
And talking about recidivism in, like, criminals or people who are kind of down on their luck.
I think Ridley handled it in a kind of a unique and thoughtful way that I wasn't expecting.
I really liked it, so I hope the follow-through continues to be good in the next few issues.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's it for me.
Okay. All right. Let's take a break, and then we'll come back and talk about some news and some trailers. All right, we're going to start with the trailer we watched last, because it's fresh on the minds.
Sure.
And there's some debate to be had about whether, is this going to be so bad it's good, or just so bad it's bad?
Right. The movie is called The Lost Lands.
In the Lost Lands.
In the Lost Lands.
In the Lost Lands.
Yes.
And it's from the dude who directed, most recently, all of the Resident Evil movies forever.
Yep.
Paul W.S. Anderson.
Yep.
And it stars Mia Jovovich, just like those movies.
Yep.
And Dave Bautista.
Yep.
And it's some kind of post-apocalyptic thing, which is kind of quasi-Western in its vibe, but also includes, we saw in there, zombie-looking things.
Yep.
Templar-type knights.
Yep.
Werewolf-looking things.
A werewolf,
At the end,
seemingly.
there's a werewolf flying at a crow.
It's true.
Yes.
There's a big train going
Could
off
it
a cliff.
possibly be a werecrow?
It could be a
Right,
werewolf.
and the train, by the way, looks like an old kind of Westy train, but maybe steampunked up.
Yeah. What if Old West... Oh, there's definitely some magic in there, because she's, like, levitating.
Right.
Yep.
Seems some kind of
And
chosen
after
one.
some
Further
sort of-
in making this an insane mix, it's based on an old short story or whatever from George R.R. Martin.
Yep.
From, like, 1985.
Yep, and it does seem like it's got
Can this
magic in there as well.
this possibly rival Doomsday? We don't know.
Right,
No.
now here's the thing. People don't know Doomsday.
They should.
And I haven't revisited Doomsday since I saw it, but Doomsday is a post-apocalyptic movie from the guy who he actually has made a few sort of more
He
legit
made
movies.
Dog Soldiers.
And The Descent.
And The Descent.
And stuff like that. And Doomsday was his post-apocalyptic thing that had, like, both, like, had been, like, a pandemic, like a viral lockdown.
Yep.
There were also zombies in it.
Yep.
There was also Mad Max cars.
Yep.
Knights.
There were also Templar Knights.
There were Templar Knights, yes.
yeah, it was focused on like a courier that
Yes.
was like trying to get like the
And by the way,
This also
fun movie.
Did this also have Via Madrid? No, it was the girl from Underworld, right? Kate.
no, it was
Beckinsale.
Somebody should look.
knockoff Kate Beckinsale.
Somebody should look it up.
It's not real Kate Beckinsale.
I don't think it's the real.
I thought it was, but
We do need to know who the stars of Doomsday were.
I am looking it up. It was Karen Peterson, Rona Mitra. It was
Yeah, Rona Mitra.
You're
Okay,
right.
yeah, she
Yes.
was one of those.
Yes,
she was in
she
that
is
ballpark.
knockoff, yes.
Who was that? Is there a male lead in it
I don't know.
that jumps out?
That was probably the Bob Hoskins was in it.
Malcolm McDowell was
Malcolm
the
McDowell.
like the
Alexander
He's going to be
Siddig.
the bad guy, right?
he I think was.
Alexander Siddig from Deep Space
Bashir,
Nine.
yeah. Okay, so these aren't like all A-listers, but here's the thing: Doomsday is a so bad it's good movie, and is recommended. You should go watch Doomsday if nothing
Yep.
else. Just watch it while you're drunk, maybe.
Yeah.
It's a good time though, and but will In the Lost Lands be there? I propose that I think it has the capability. Paul W.S. Anderson is the maker of some good schlock movies like Mortal Kombat. Some people like the Resident Evil movies. I liked his dumb Pompeii movie, which is Gladiator with a volcano. And there was and the one that I think people most like is, what's his sci-fi one?
Event Horizon.
Event Horizon.
Yep.
But then he made, like, I feel like Resident Evil is kind of his bread and butter. His kind of schlocky movies with, we think, his wife.
Yes,
Mia
we're pretty sure Mia
Jovovich.
Jovovich is his wife or was his wife.
All right, so Randy, you are a
I believe
disbeliever.
this is going to be hot garbage.
You don't believe in the power of Paul W.S.
The
Anderson.
only thing that makes me think it won't be is the presence of MMA fighter turned actor Dave Bautista, who has actually turned a lot of things that could have been bad and good.
Yeah.
So
my only gripe with that is that he's like, I don't want to be Drax anymore. I don't want to do any of that. I want to do real acting, and he does this. It feels.
I think what he meant is, I don't want to be in green body paint 27 hours a day.
I mean, I guess that's true.
Also, you can say that, but that doesn't mean you're going to get those roles.
Yep.
No, that's true.
And I think he actually did do a good college try at it, because consider he was in Knock at the Cabin,
Yeah.
in which he plays just a spooky cult guy.
Yep.
And there was something else he did that was also not like a muscle man role.
He played Jay Gatsby in the Great Gatsby remake I'm currently
I
writing.
forget what the other thing was, but there is something else.
Well, he
did.
was in the Glass Onion.
Yeah, Glass Onion. He was
Yeah.
he was playing
He was fun in Glass
He
Onion.
was basically a version of Andrew Tate.
Yep.
Yeah.
So anyway, Nick, do you think it's possible they
I
can
think
pull it
there is
off?
a possibility. I don't know if it's likely, but I think there is a possibility.
I
It'll
think
be
it
fun.
has a 40% chance, solid, not like quite likely, but a solid chance of being so bad it's
If we're
good.
throwing out percentages, mine's like 20. But still.
5% chance this is any good at all.
Randy acknowledges, though, it has a chance.
It has a chance. Also, worth noting, I'm looking at its IMDb page, so it's worth noting this does have a surprise appearance by Sebastian Stan Coex.
What'd you say?
Sebastian Stan Coex. Is not Sebastian Stan.
So anyway, that is what's it called again?
It is called In the Lost Lands.
In the Lost Lands. What else? So what other trailers do we have?
All right, so we watched a bunch of horror trailers.
Yep. And some of them were kind of tropey, and some of them were pretty spooky looking.
So let's talk about Hard Eyes. This one is a serial killer. This seems to be the anti-Valentine's Day. If you want to take your Valentine to a gory horror movie,
Yep.
this is your horror movie.
Yep. And indeed, it looks like it follows a young couple.
Yep.
And there is a killer called the Heart Eyes Killer who has like a spooky mask, like a creepy mask with
right
literal
now-
like heart-shaped stuff over the eyes.
I remember there being a reason why.
Nick was like, there's a reason why. This is directed and written by Josh Rubin, who made Werewolves Within and Scare Me, which I loved.
Yep.
And by the way, that guy is also in a bunch of Dropout TV stuff, which I've been watching this week.
Oh, okay.
And he's hilarious.
Is Werewolves Within the one that I saw, Randy?
Yes.
Yes.
Because there's another werewolves movie that I have heard is good that's a comedic thing like that, but different.
Maybe you didn't see Werewolves Within. I don't remember. I don't know if you watched that one.
Werewolves Within was the one I saw where there were people holed up in like a icy.
It has
that's
the
'Cause we
sheriff
watched it together.
it has Sam Richardson, who was in the movie that you just saw, and Nick and I are describing him to you, and you're like, I don't recognize this guy.
Yeah, I don't know. Who
He's in
that is.
Section 31.
Okay. Oh yeah, that guy.
yeah. He's great.
But because I didn't know him when I saw that movie, I don't remember anybody in that movie,
Fair.
honestly.
Anyway,
But,
I am now much more interested in this, even though I thought the trailer wasn't great.
Yeah, and like the trailer does give off somewhat Scream-like vibes, which is to say there's parts of it where they clearly take the horror seriously, and parts of it where there's kind of like going to be some jump scares, some dark humor. It looks like, the Scream type of meta humor maybe. But yeah, this killer comes out on Valentine's Day, and it's Valentine's Day, and
It stars Jordana Brewster, who plays Mia in the Fast and Furious
Well, I
movies.
think she's one of the characters.
Is she
Sorry.
okay? She's not the star.
Her and Devon Sawa, who, if you remember, he was like a heartthrob back in the 90s. He
not
was like in the
remember him.
movie Idle Hands.
Oh, okay.
oh well, if they was in Idle
The,
Hands,
the
I like
young,
Idle
the young
Hands.
No, I don't
Ally,
even know what that is.
Olivia Holt seems to be the lead.
And Mason Gooding, who was one of the twins from the Scream movies.
Was Olivia
Okay.
Holt like Dagger and Cloak and
she
Dagger?
was Dagger and Cloak and Dagger. How do you remember that?
I don't know.
I was just looking at that, and I'm like, I don't remember.
Well, I remember I wanted to watch that show, but I never got around to watching
Yeah.
that show.
yeah, that's in fact
She was
her.
also in Totally Killer.
She's also in the show Laid, which Nick is going to be talking about later.
Sure.
But anyway, you know what's weird? Like, I wasn't really feeling this trailer, and like, it's actually it's a slightly red band trailer,
Yeah.
dropping
Yeah.
a bomb in there, and it's a little bit gory towards the end, and I was not particularly feeling its brand of gore, but I like Scream, and if this vibe, if they manage to pull it off, I'll be interested.
I didn't realize it was directed by Josh Rubin. That gets my interest.
It looks like a pretty straightforward slasher film, which
Yeah.
is not typically my thing, but
well,
I love...
straightforward, but with some Scream sensibilities, and Scream
and
that's
that
not
look-
straightforward.
So now that I know that Rubin's involved, I wonder if this is a bad trailer for a good movie.
It's probably a bad trailer for a good movie.
Could be.
I didn't think it was
They
a
do
bad
the
trailer.
slightly stock thing now in a lot of horror movies of the warbly version of like a pop song.
Yeah.
It's that old 60s song, You're just too good to be true.
Yeah.
But it's all like, you're just too good.
Which I
Yeah.
associate with the movie Conspiracy Theory.
Yep. Starring anti-Semite and dumbass Mel Gibson.
So the writer
Julia
of this,
Roberts.
the writer of this film,
And Julia Roberts. Look, I like the movie. I'm just like, Mel Gibson sucks
And
ass.
you had an evil Patrick Stewart, which was really fun.
Patrick Stewart was great as an evil man.
so the writer of this movie also wrote Freaky. Isn't that the one with the?
Vince Vaughn.
Yeah, solid. But Freaky was not as good as, say, what was the other very pop one? Happy Death Day at the time.
Yeah, for sure.
And both of them were, like, still not great.
Yeah.
I thought Freaky had a lot of fun.
I liked
so
Freaky.
also that he worked on Freaky and Happy Death Day to You, the sequel to Happy Death Day.
Which
and
I
the-
didn't think was as good, but it still
true.
had moments.
So he clearly does sort of comedy horror.
Right. But there was definitely enough good stuff in both of those to be like, oh, this could work out.
I think there's a lot of potential here.
There is. There's good people involved. I think it's possible this is a bad trailer for a good movie. It was a bad trailer. There was a good trailer for the Netflix movie Back in Action.
I don't know why. The trailer was fun.
This is honestly what looks like a good formula movie where you take two stars and you put them as a husband and wife, like a slightly older couple.
The two stars in question are Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz.
Yep, and they're like former
CIA.
They were unofficial covert operatives for the CIA.
And they
is what
basically...
but movie CIA where
Yes.
Yeah.
martial arts
Yes.
and can knife fight and all this stuff.
not real CIA where they were just
Where you
passing papers somewhere and
or like staging
But they
a
basically
coup.
went off the grid.
so they could
They
have
went
kids and raise
AWOL
a
to have
family.
like a family.
And now their old enemies are on them, and they are like they've got teenage kids, and they're like there's a little Mr. and Mrs. Smith vibe of like finding excitement in their
Also,
old
Night
life.
Day.
and
Night
True
Day.
Lies.
True Lies.
All of those things. It's
a
familiar
fun trailer.
territory, but it's a good trailer.
I think
I think
it's
that
bolstered by like a good cast of not only the leads, but you also have Glenn Close. And who was the other one that was in there? That
We spotted somebody else. Yeah, I don't remember who it was.
He's the guy. Was it that guy who was the FBI guy in Wolf of Wall Street?
It is him. Yes, it's Coach Taylor.
Oh yeah, Kyle
And when you say
Chandler.
Coach Taylor, what do you mean?
Kyle Chandler.
Is that from Friday Night Lights?
Yes.
Yes.
Friday Night Lights.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is also Andrew Scott apparently.
Andrew
is in
Scott is probably the
somewhere.
villain. He plays great villains.
He does play
That's
great
a
villains.
hot priest from what's the show?
Preacher?
No,
He was not Hot Priest in
Fleabag.
that.
Yes, he is. He's Hot
Oh,
Priest.
yes, he was Hot Priest. I never watched Fleabag, so.
Okay, from Fleabag. He's also Moriarty from Sherlock.
Yes, I was going to say, he's Moriarty.
But anyway, people don't want to hear your IMDb talk, people. They just want to know, does it look good? And then I think this looks like fun.
It does.
People do want to hear IMDb talk there.
At that level?
I promise they do.
Please
want to
let
know.
us,
They want to know
please
who
let us
people
know
are.
if you want them to go through the entire cast list.
Do you want to hear the fun cast list? As Nick and I talk about, or are you a fun killer like Dave?
It
I
seems
think,
like Jimmy Fox is like attached to a lot of Netflix. I guess he did that vampire thing. Like
Okay.
he's just working with
Vampire
Netflix.
thing.
Yeah, it was the.
what was that?
It was like, oh man, what was?
Did I watch that?
I don't know. Now who's doing IMDb?
He also did that Project Power movie.
Oh, that wasn't good.
But there was a vampire thing. I know I watched it.
He also. Oh, that's producing.
Yes, I remember. This is.
They did. He was also in They Clone Tyrone, which is a Netflix.
I did not like that.
Oh, it was called Day Shift, which I thought was like
it was okay.
silly, but it was fun
okay.
enough.
Is he? He's a producer on that. He's not a director, right?
Of what?
Of those things.
He was starred in them.
Oh, okay. Oh, I was looking at the director, who's done a bunch of like sitcom stuff, and also directed The Lost City. No, he produced The Lost City.
Okay, Lost City was solid.
He's directed a bunch of TV stuff. It looks like, and good TV stuff. So
Was The Lost City that thing with
Sandra Bullock.
Sandra
Bullock? It was okay.
It was okay.
Yeah, it wanted to be better than it was. And
Right.
It was just okay.
But it had its moments.
yeah.
All right. Well,
it looks fun.
we. What's this one called?
This is called Back in Action.
Back in Action. So yeah,
It'll probably be Netflix middling, but the trailer was fun.
The trailer was fun.
If you watch the trailer, I think, and you like the chemistry of the characters, maybe try it.
And the last trailer we saw that we liked was A Woman in the Yard, which is another A24 horror movie.
Yep.
Oh, is it A24?
Isn't it? Did you say that?
Or is it Blumhouse?
It's Blumhouse.
It did not look as artsy and ambitious as
Yeah.
No,
A24.
this looks very kind of in your face.
It looks like Blumhouse.
Yes.
There's basically it's a family like out in the wilderness, basically.
Or are they in the like?
They seem to be. I
It's
don't know.
like a
It's not
country
wilderness, it's
house,
country
not like
house,
not like
yeah.
a jungle.
Right, not the jungle, not the jungle. Yes, and there's just a woman in a black dress who just appears in their yard. It's a very creepy premise.
They make it sound like an urban legend because somebody's singing a little sing-song lullaby
There's
that
some
sounds like
rhyming.
it sounds like that 1, 2, Freddy's coming for
Little
you
bit.
Yep.
kind of thing.
Yep.
But yeah, it's the rhyme doesn't zero in on a lot of specifics other than it's just sort of a strange woman and creepy woman who appears in your yard. And indeed, as they're watching this, just like kind of like almost like rising up from the grass, from the tall grass, is this kind of. She looks like an old woman, like kind of covered in, I don't know. You can't.
It's
even
like
really
a black
tell.
veil, but it's
Yeah,
like
that's
kind
right.
of just like.
And you see she's got
enshrouded
blood,
by
like
it.
Blood on her
dried
hands,
blood
yep.
on her hands. And I guess it's somewhat notable that the leads. It looks like it's an African American
Yep,
family.
yep. And the
Don't-
woman in the yard is also black.
Yep. So
The
I
lead
don't-
of this is Daniel Deadweiler, who you will
like
know
that
from
guy.
Carry On.
Yeah.
She was the cop. But
Okay.
she's been in a bunch of. She was in some westerns.
Well,
The Harder They Fall.
This director did Carry On,
Oh, okay.
and also Black Adam, and
Yeah,
also
yeah.
Jungle Cruise.
Yep.
And also Non-Stop. He likes playing movies.
He does.
And then Orphan, the weird as shit horror
So
movie.
I like this guy because he's not set in one mode.
He is definitely not.
He kind of zigs and zags,
Yes, he
and I'm
does.
okay with that.
I think we all thought this was a spooky little trailer.
It was
spooky trailer.
and I will say, Orphan is freaking surprising. It is
Orphan's fun.
bizarre.
Orphan's a lot of fun.
And I do recommend watching it because, man, I did not see that twist coming.
yeah, it's fun. It's weird. It's fun.
But yeah, right now we don't know a whole lot about this movie, but it is a spooky trailer, and so good job on being spooky.
Yep.
And also, even though scary nursery rhymes are those are somewhat old hat, I haven't heard one in a while.
It worked.
Whereas I have heard a lot of warbling pop songs. And
You take rhymes over warbling.
Yes, that's where I am.
yes.
Rogues Gallery supports rhymes over warbling.
I agree.
2 bits of news from video game world to live action or cartoon world. Sony has announced they're making a Helldivers 2 film.
Okay.
Surely they're not going to call it Helldivers 2,
It
right?
would be hilarious if they called Helldivers because there's been no Helldivers 1 movie.
Yep.
What is Helldivers? I don't know this.
It's the
a video
Starship
game.
Troopers type video game, but like with the serial numbers filed off, it's not
so it's
official.
like
And
Space Marines versus
It
the
is
Bugs.
it is directly parody kind of thing.
Right.
You are spreading managed democracy. There's a lot of the parody elements.
I think
of it.
I remember hearing some of this. I just haven't
It
played
came
it.
out-
yet.
The previous one was a top-down, like 3D game, basically.
Right, and you would go down with your platoon and guys who are mostly you shoot like assault rifles just like in the movie,
Yep.
but you could call down orbital drops of better equipment, flamethrowers, mech suits,
Yep.
eventually vehicles. And there were a few other aliens, but the big scary bugs
Yep.
are the prime
You battle
villains.
the bugs, who you turn into oil, the socialist cyborgs,
Yep.
and the Luminants, who had access to a pure energy source that Space America needed for its
Yeah.
managed democracy.
Yeah, what they call Super Earth.
Super Earth.
Yeah. Anyway,
They should just call this Helldivers 2 the subtitle Omens of Tyranny. I'd be okay with that.
The new game is a like
first
3D.
person
it's
or,
not. It's 3D.
or over the
It's
shoulder kind of one.
And you play in 4-player multiplayer squads.
Okay.
You bring you can upgrade your equipment. You bring in more stuff. More equipment, more guns, and it is a blast. And it was so successful. They thought they were making like this little game nobody was going to know about, and it turned into this mega hit. So they were having trouble like keeping up with the servers and stuff for a while.
Yeah, I remember it was a legit, especially that first one when it came out was like kind of a breakout hit.
Yeah.
And then, I guess, was the second one even bigger
Yes.
in its way?
That's what the second one, they were expecting it to be, some of the people who played the first game will probably like this, but it
Right.
became a mega hit.
That's right. And I guess that is why they are saying they're adapting Helldivers 2. It's probably when they sort of perfected the formula they wanted.
I play this every couple of weeks with some friends. It is a blast. My son plays a ton of it.
Yep.
And my friend, who is my big helldiver, he posted this news, and he's like, yeah, I don't know. He's like, I've already seen the Starship Troopers movie, and that's kind of where I am. Is like,
it's true.
They could easily fuck this up. Sony's not great at making movies.
Sure.
But they have made some good movies.
Yeah.
And so I could easily see a version of this that is a hell of a lot of fun, like a really fun parody action movie.
You know, when famously in the 90s, not everybody got the kind of parody elements that are in Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
People who watch it now still don't get it.
People who watch it now sometimes don't get it. And but this sounds like something that would sort of lean into it.
Hopefully.
I do wonder, how is it like, yeah, maybe you can avoid the lawyers with enough stuff, but like it's still essentially Space Marine type guys shooting against giant bugs and some other things, and, you know, vaguely talking about how we need to democratize them when really you're after their resources. So there's a lot of parody there, but it's all stuff that's already contained in Starship Troopers. So I don't know quite what you do to differentiate it.
Give the middle finger to Robert Heinlein. Who cares?
You know, Heinlein, for all that he was a weird, very kind of hyper military fixated guy who was he was terrified of communism. He you know, he did write a novel so enduring that Aliens, Starship Troopers, anything you've ever seen with mech units in it, all kind of owe their life to that.
Yeah.
And then, what's the director's name?
Paul Verhoeven?
Paul Verhoeven said he read like a page of it, and he's like, this is drivel.
Yeah, well, the movie, the book, for people who haven't read it, in its way, it's quite readable, but it's essentially, there's like 2 or 3 action sequences, and everything else is lecturing you about a proper society and tough love. And
I just remember that opening chapter is like the drop.
Yeah, the opening chapter is really arguably the best chapter. It's really good.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, we'll see if they can pull it off.
Yeah. And then the other thing is Ghost of Tsushima Legends. Mm-hmm. They're making an anime that's going to be on Crunchyroll.
Okay.
I'm not a big anime guy. I don't bother with Crunchyroll, and I haven't played Ghost of Tsushima, so I'm pretty agnostic to all of this news. But I know, Dave, you played Ghost of Tsushima.
Yeah, I played it. I have to say I don't have any particular interest in this because Ghost of Tsushima is largely a familiar samurai type story, you know, like, but the hook of the game, the what was behind the gameplay, aside from being basically an open world samurai game,
right,
is that you've been so devastated. Your like village was just almost like just wiped off the map by the invading. Was it like the Mongol hordes and stuff? I think that's what it is. So basically, barbarians come in and thrash you. They actually do a lot of historical dives into it, like that you can find out. So the Mongols aren't just like big dumb thugs; they're their own interesting set of villains. But you have to basically use ninja tactics too, and you will divide your upgrades and things between kind of dishonorable ninja type stuff, poisoning, and stealth kills and all that stuff, or samurai things. And you can go all one way or the other. Both are fun to do and cool, and most people will end up using some mixture of them. When
you were playing and you were describing me stuff that you were doing, and I thought it sounded really interesting.
Yep. But I remember that, like, the first time I was like, oh, you know what, that this one mission is so tough, I'm just going to do this one kind of ninja, or I'm going to, like, poison their water or something like that, and I'm like, I don't like to do it, but I think it's necessary for the mission. And then in the next cutscene where you meet your, like, uncle who was trained you, he was like, I saw what you did, and I have to say I'm disappointed. And I was like, oh no, I disappointed my uncle.
Achievement unlocked. Disappointed your uncle.
That's right. It was a great game, though. Really, really beautiful to look at too, and good action and fighting and stuff
if they
in
can
it.
give it the same energy.
But like, there's so many samurai movies and stuff out there.
But I will say, if they give this the same energy as, what was it, Blue-Eyed Samurai? The Netflix show.
Yes, Blue-Eyed Samurai is great. I think there's season 2 coming.
I heard that was good stuff.
So if they can kind of match the energy of that.
What's that on Netflix?
Netflix. It's really, really worth your time.
I'm watching. I'm having fun watching Arcane on Netflix, which is one of their animated things. And if not anime, it has anime influence for sure. So
I definitely recommend you check it out.
I'll check that out. We'll see about Ghost of Tsushima. Maybe give it a shot.
All right, let's take a break and then come back and talk about some TV and movies and other stuff we're doing. All right, this is the part of the show where we talk about various TV and movies and board games and whatever else we've watched.
Yep.
And there have been a few things.
Yeah.
Nick, you want to talk about the Pitt?
Okay, so
We watched the trailer. We talked about the trailer for
We're
this.
talking about the trailer. And then I mentioned it to my wife in passing, and I didn't realize that she grew up on ER. And we have been rewatching ER.
Yep. ER hold up?
ER holds up surprisingly well, actually. Although they do harp on a few things, like in the culture, like AIDS was definitely a big thing, and that was a bigger thing than I remembered.
Yeah.
But John Wells did a lot of interesting stuff, and the cast is great. I mean, Anthony Edwards, George Clooney. So, enter the Pitt, which takes place in Pittsburgh. It was supposed to be an ER continuation of Noah Wiley's character, I believe.
Yep.
At one point.
Because Noah Wiley's the lead, right?
Noah Wiley is the lead in here.
But now he's just an original character.
Original character.
For those who don't know, Noah Wiley was the babyface intern in the original ER. Now he is a bearded daddy man.
Yeah, bearded daddy man, scruffy. A little...
Look, I didn't make the rule. I don't make the rules.
He's a little burnt out. He has gone through... They're definitely doing real world stuff, so they have gone through COVID. They're dealing with nurse shortages. Stuff that is actively happening right now in our medical... facilities.
But the big thing is this takes place in like
a 15-hour shift.
Is the whole thing real time essentially?
Yes, it is
like 24, but with a hospital.
Exactly, it's a 15-hour shift told in 1 hour increments.
Yep.
They put up the first two. I like the cases that they're dealing with. I feel like Noah Wiley is a good lead. Some of the sub-characters are really, really interesting. They get some good character actors thrown in there.
Okay.
Like ER was a breeding ground for people you were like, oh, he's that guy and that guy from this.
Yep.
This is probably going to continue to have a little bit of that. I thought it was intense. I thought it was good drama. John Wells hasn't lost it. I was surprised at how well that he basically just picks up kind of the drama of medical without it feeling dated or boring. But interspersing characters that you can actually kind of root for because they're real characters as opposed to just feeling flat.
Is it told exclusively from the doctor's point of view, or are there any the patients?
The patients are a big thing. There's actually one of the stories that I'll tell you kind of gives you a broad idea of what they're dealing with.
I'm possessed by a demon.
No, but a woman comes in with her kind of aloof but kind of odd son.
Yeah,
and she's been like throwing up and. They're trying to figure out why that is, and when the son goes out to get like a Coke or something, she tells them that she found the son's writings about like possible like attacking his school.
Yeah,
and she was like, "This is the only way. I don't want to call the police. I don't want him to be like killed on sight."
Oh, interesting.
So it's dealing with not just medical stuff in general,
but kind of like an emergency that might arise at a hospital,
right?
Just like kind of crazy.
But
shit
also like mental health is dealt with in I think like a better manner and stuff like that. So it's like a progressive ER.
Yeah. Okay.
Which, and of course, because it's Max, it's a little gorier. It's a little, they can say the word fuck. And not really...
sure. They're like, fuck, that dude just exploded.
Yes.
Fuck the helicopter landed on our roof.
Was he possessed? He just detonated. Sorry.
No.
Sorry, have you not heard Dave's pitch for Devil Hospital? It's pretty compelling. It's pretty compelling stuff.
Well, listen, for any people who haven't seen Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, that's kind of what that is.
That is.
But anyway...
You should seek that out.
Just look it up on YouTube. It's there.
But I don't really care for the medical drama anymore. I know people love Grey's Anatomy, and
I never did medical dramas.
I grew up in ER,
but when I've walked in on them, they're well done. I don't know if it's too harrowing, too real, or whatever. But I will say, I remember thinking the trailer for this looked pretty good.
I watched ER for a couple of years. I remember Tarantino directed an episode. Yep. It had some really fantastic episodes.
It did. I mean, there's spectacular episodes.
It introduced the world to George Clooney.
And like I said, a whole host of people.
Did that had some episode where some kid drowned in the rain when they were trying to dig him out?
That was a big.
I remember that being a big thing, and I just happened to like walk in on that scene, and I was like, it was a riveting scene.
Well, that scene of George Clooney holding the kid in the rain, a spotlight hits him. That's like ingrained in my brain.
Yeah.
I don't know I didn't remember that ER was so kind of like important to my TV watching.
Right,
Yeah.
but it was actually more of an impression.
Because I mean, Wells went on to do West Wing,
Yeah.
and just kind of
John Wells is a pretty spectacular director, producer.
mostly.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have a fondness for ER or medical shows in general, I think The Pitt is kind of cream of the crop at the moment.
Do you remember about ER? There was it was on NBC.
Yeah.
It's on Must See Thursdays.
Yep.
I remember there was a bit where the guy who played Chandler, Matthew Perry, was doing a promo, and he's like, and next coming up, and the guy's like, it's ER. He's like, oh, that makes more sense. That's what I remember. That NBC made fun of their own show name.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good show.
That was a pretty good show.
Yeah.
I think it was him and Noah Wiley doing promos.
Makes sense.
Yeah. Anyway,
Daddy Wiley.
Daddy Wiley.
Go watch The Pitt.
No, this is Baby Wiley.
Oh, right.
He's now Daddy Wiley.
Dave, now for something completely different. Talking about Star Wars Outlaws.
Oh, right. I should have pulled up the wiki for this so I can remember what's going on.
Is this the new Star Wars game?
It is.
New in that it came out 2 years ago.
Oh, is it? I thought
Was it 2 years, really?
Something like
I
that.
thought it was just last year.
Yeah, no, or maybe it was. I will say that it had been full price.
It came out in 2024.
Oh, okay. Maybe it was early 2024 or something. I feel like it kind of went under the radar. And I saw it when I looked it up, it had kind of slightly middling reviews. Like if they score out of 100, it was like 70s, 80s, things like that. And maybe even some as low as 60s. But I've been watching and really liking Skeleton Crew, and the promise of an open world Star Wars game where you play as like a scoundrel and you do like stealth missions and thievery missions and stuff like that. Plus you get to fly ships. Plus you get to ride speeder bikes. All of that stuff sounded good to me. And when they had one of those sales for the holidays, I decided to download it from Steam. And I have been enjoying it. It's a cool game. The lady you play in it is... God, I don't actually even remember what her backstory is, but essentially she's like an orphaned kid. There may be a little bit of dramatic backstory to be revealed, but she was like raised by kind of the bartender of like a cantina type place. In fact, the opening sequence begins there. You wake up, it's like you've got a room up above the cantina.
Okay.
And it's kind of cool. You get up, you've got a little pet in it who's think like a little Star Wars squirrel kind of creature. And
Is this like the droid that you have when you're in that Jedi Outlaw? You had like a little pet that was...
probably so, although this one does some of those things and probably more. You can always there are a few quick little commands to it. It can go places and press buttons, pull levers and stuff for you that you can't get to.
Yeah.
It can go and distract guards so that you can get by them, and it can attack guards. It won't, honestly, it won't kill them, but you do upgrade things along the way, so he may get feistier as time goes by.
All right.
But right now, usually he distracts him while I go somewhere, or I say, go fight that guard while I walk out, beat up one of the guards, and then while that guy throws him off, I beat him up. I'm like, he just basically keeps him occupied.
It looks like a little axolotl.
It does look like a little axolotl.
Okay, all right.
Or a bigger axolotl.
And what else? So in that opening sequence, you come down and this like thumping club music is playing, but it's like Star Wars club music, and it's actually very cool. As you go down the corridors, you get closer and closer to the actual cantina itself, and then when you emerge into it, it kind of really feels like you've come from a real place. Walking through the walls of it behind the scenes was cool. Anyway, you'll go on to take missions, kind of like, if you want to almost think of it GTA style.
Okay.
But
I
also,
knew it was open world.
Also, Assassin's Creed is something I would compare it to. I feel like it's not as polished as those, but like, if it is like you really get to take in the full town while you're doing it.
All right.
And the dialogue and stuff is pretty good. You will ultimately you actually go to a different planet than the one you start on, and I think the one I'm on right now is probably where most of the action takes place, but I don't know, it may move again. But there's 3 criminal syndicates. There's the Hutts, the Pikes, which were prominent on Mandalorian,
and also Rebels.
And then there's Crimson Dawn, I think. Is it Crimson Sun?
Okay. Oh, man. I think it's Crimson Dawn.
Whatever.
Because it's Black Sun.
Yeah.
Black Sun, Crimson Dawn.
Yes.
Okay, so it's Crimson Dawn.
Yeah.
And I think, is that the one that was run by my Maul and then later the lady from Solo?
Yes.
And each one of them...
That's her official name, because none of us know her. Kira. Her name's Kira.
Sure. Each one of them has like a focus as thing that they do. You'll end up taking missions from all of them, but it tracks your standing in each of them. And if you're in good with them, then you get cool prices and stuff like that when you're in when they're in the sectors they control. Yeah. If you're in bad with them, they will actually come after you at times. And there's also the Empire still around. I guess this takes place, I don't know, circa the original trilogy anyway.
Okay, it's not Mandalorian era where the Empire is like remnants or anything.
It could be, I don't know. It's not important to you're not a rebel.
Yeah.
So what do you care? You're trying to work your way up, make some money, and the missions are pretty cool because there's go in and just get an item missions. There's just blow something up, steal a weapon. You'll find yourself climbing around in ventilation shafts, Die Hard style. In fact, that's some of the funnest stuff to do. Is you'll find out you need to get into some sector of the city, and there's multiple ways to get in. You could strong arm your way past the guards. You could find a little lost tunnel to it. You could go in through a vent.
Dave, is there dialogue types? Does this have any Mass Effect dialogue-y type
Not
thing?
Not really.
Okay, so
every once in a while you will get some choices, like something will come up and it'll be like, do you want to portray the Hutts or the Pikes? And I'll be like, oh, who do I want to make an enemy out of? But mostly there's well-done cutscenes that move the story forward, but you're not really making those big... you're not doing dialogue stuff in it.
So you're digging this, though?
Yeah, it's fun. Your character in general, you tend to be on the stealth side. You're not you don't just go in guns blazing.
I'm going to die in this game.
Sometimes an alarm goes off, and you do get to fighting. But you can't just go in guns blazing on everything.
Die.
I don't know. Have you ever played... I guess you don't even do Assassin's Creed or anything like that.
I could not handle Assassin's Creed. It was too much restraint.
Yeah, it's and I've got different weapons. I can stun, I can kill, and I've started getting upgrades. Here's an example cool upgrade I got. Yeah. I got this for taking out enough guards that were distracted by my pet.
Okay.
Now I have the upgrade of fast talk. And this is pretty cool. That means if I get spotted by somebody, they start walking over, and instead of just calling the guards or whatever, they're like, "Hey, what's going on over there?" And you start kind of talking just bullshit. You're like,
Han Solo.
You're like, actually, I've got my card, my ID card. Where did I put it? And that gives you about 5 seconds to maybe you could get close and knock them out. You could try and just walk away and just get the hell out of there. Get to your speeder bike.
Okay.
And that's a fun new option now I have, and I'm sure there's lots of other cool ones.
That's fun.
I have gone off planet for the first time and used a spaceship, and there's clearly upgrading your ship now, as well as upgrading your speeder.
Okay.
You can change your look and get different types of gear. So that you have this helps me move faster. This is a more laser-proof flak jacket. And your character, she kind of looks a little bit like, I'm going to say, the typical Star Wars brunette, which is to say that Padme, Jyn Erso look kind of thing. A little different. She actually reminds me of a slightly young Sigourney Weaver with slightly curly hair.
Okay.
But she's a fun enough protagonist, and... I'm enjoying it so far. I'm still quite early in the game, so we'll see where we go.
I've been playing a game called Slay the Spire, which is on Steam, is what they call a deck-building roguelike, which we looked up this morning to figure out what that means. I think we're all still not 100% clear on it.
Right, but we understand that it's procedurally generated stuff usually.
So what the deal is this is a sort of fantasy game. You start with a deck of 10 cards, and then you go through, there's a map, and you go to monster encounters or question mark that could be a monster or it could be something else. Then you'll get to go to a shop where you can buy new cards, but also you can get rid of one card. Mm-hmm. Tighten your deck building stuff. And then there are boss fights, and then there are campfires where you can, if you're at full health, you can upgrade a card.
Okay.
And if you're not, you can get some health back. And then you're trying to get to this big tower boss battle at the end. Mm-hmm. And if you do that, then you keep going and you go to multiple, you go to the next place, you go to the city. And so if you go somewhere after that, I don't know, I've never gotten past the city. But there are 4 different character classes, each one has a different deck. And basically it's you go through all these things, you play these card battles, and then when you die, you start over with either a different group or a different character or the same character. And each time you get more abilities you can unlock and that kind of thing. But you do not keep the same deck. Like, you go back to your starter deck if you die. But it's a lot of fun. The thief character has a thing called shivs, where it's like you pay energy to play cards. So you have like 3 energy to pay like 3 cards, or maybe like 1 if it's 1 will cost 2 if it's more powerful. And you play a card. The shivs you play, and it gives you like 3 shivs that go in your hand that do damage to the monsters, but don't cost any energy to play. And so you can build at this point. I had one of my thieves who had built it to like 4. They had like 2 cards you play at the very beginning. They're just like, you get 4 shivs every turn.
Okay.
And so it's like every turn I got a bunch of damage to throw around and that kind of stuff.
That's cool.
And you're trying to kill them. There's also blocking that you do before they attack you. It's a lot of fun.
What does it... Is there anything that this compares to? Like, if you like this, you might like this?
I don't know what to compare it to, except to say that if you like deck builders.
Okay.
It has got that sort of card crafting mechanics that I think it really works very well. A friend of mine really enjoyed this. I bought it for like $6 off the Steam sale. And I've had a great time playing it. The graphics are pretty light. It's pretty straightforward.
What was it called again?
Slay the Spire.
Yeah, Slay the Spire.
It's been around a long ways. They just did a board game version of it, which was hugely expensive and sold out almost immediately. But I would recommend this one.
Okay.
Yeah, I've heard some of our customers buzzing about it.
And then I played a board game which came out last year called Mercurial. Actually, I think maybe a couple of years ago. We kickstarted this. I think we still have a couple copies of it. It is a card and dice manipulation game themed on spellcrafting with like an engine building thing. It does a lot. And what I think it reminds me the most of is something like Splendor, which is like a dice mechanic. So it's like a more complicated Splendor. The learning curve is a little sharp.
I like Splendor, but I will say, like, it's a good casual board game, and I could see, like, going deeper into its mechanics.
I think what I would say about it is, like, if you like dice games, if you like hand management games, it's really good. And when we played it, I had a great time with it. But it did take us... We watched, like, a 30-minute video, and then we had a few things where we trying to, like... It probably took us, like, 45 minutes to get ready for the whole thing. And so, like, the first game is a little bit of a slog. You're like, okay, what? This does this and this. There's like so many rules. You know that parody video of Settlers of Catan?
Yes.
Where the guys like teach them Settlers of Catan and increasingly
just endless rules.
Seems like endless rules and gibberish.
By the way, it's hilarious to think that somebody thinks Settlers of Catan has a lot of rules. But I get the idea if you're used to Monopoly where all you do is roll the dice and you do what the square says and you're done. Then it does have a lot of rules.
Yeah. It does. It started to feel as we were watching this video of like, and this is the gatekeeper. And when you have the gatekeeper, you get a 6 and the 6 is a 7. But only when you have the gate. And like there was a couple of these like, is this a parody? But you know what? once you get past that learning curve,
it's a little intuitive.
It's actually pretty intuitive. The gameplay is very simple.
I sometimes find like that many rules very kind of intimidating.
Yeah,
and I'm like, oh, do I really want to play this?
Once you start actually playing it and stumbling through it is a better way to learn for me at least.
I've had games where the learning curve is sharp and then the game isn't good, and that's a soul crusher. This one, once you play your first game, you'll be like, oh, I get this. And it's very pretty. It's got some cool mechanics.
Randy, when y'all were first telling me about the game Scythe,
yes,
and also you,
oh my God,
you had
Scythe sounds so complicated.
The expansions to it, I was like, I've made a terrible mistake. I need to get out of this house.
Yep.
And I felt that way for about 10 or 15 minutes still. Once I started to sort of see how I was played, I was like, damn, this game is dope. But I needed it. Like I needed to just play it.
This is not as good as Scythe, but I would say if you like Splendor but you're tired of it, and you want something a little more complicated. This is a good one for that, and it's got a fun theme. It's got beautiful artwork.
What was the name of it?
It is called Mercurial.
And
like I say, I believe we have a couple copies left, and then it'll probably be gone. Last thing I want to talk about is a TV show. A friend of mine gave me access to a service I've been meaning to check out called Dropout TV.
Okay.
Dropout TV...
Just a streaming service?
Yes. Dropout TV is what College Humor was.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
So it's all people from College Humor, which is why it's called Dropout. They're not in college anymore. They do... I want to say it's like $6 a month. And they do a ton of different shows. They do a lot of like actual plays with D&D and that kind of thing. I have friends who love this show. And the people who do it... like. College Humor kind of, I think, spectacularly failed by like the venture capitalists who are running it. Like they kind of got screwed. So this is all the creators who made all this content.
I was going to say, I remember their content always being pretty good.
I believe I think basically the people who owned it kind of fucked them over.
That's a very common story. The creative people are good. The management people are greedy or bad.
Yep. And so this is the opposite of that. This is the creative people own it, and they went on to make their stuff. And the thing that I've been watching first, there's a lot of stuff and there's a lot of content in this thing, is something called Gamechanger. which is a game show comedy run by Sam Reich, who is like the head of Dropout TV. And basically, there's 3 competitors, and the game is different every time. And that's one of the gags. He'll ask them at the beginning. He's like, all right, so you all know how the game is played. And they're like, no, we have no idea. You haven't told us. So it's different every time. And it brings on people, including the Brennan Lee Mulligan, who you would know from a bunch of... So, Dave, you remember that sketch that is the Defender of the Basic?
Yeah.
Every single person in that sketch is on this show.
Yeah.
They're all really funny. Brennan Lee Mulligan, you would probably know. He's this guy, babyface guy. He's done a lot of like DMing and this kind of stuff. He's very funny. And so they also have Josh Rubin, the guy we mentioned from... He comes on, and these people basically come on to do a show. The first show is called Lie Detector. It's Brennan Lee Mulligan, Jessica Ross, and Teo Yang, who are all people from God's Humor. And they are answering increasingly intimate questions about things like, have you ever stolen anything? Do you floss every day? This kind of thing. And there is a lie detector machine that is verifying their answers.
Oh, my God.
The lie detector machine, it turns out, is their significant others backstage answering pushing the button if they know they're lying or not.
Man.
And that is revealed at the end. And
this sounds
hilarious.
Uncomfortable to me.
It's so much fun. The second one, Josh Rubin, Zach Oyama, and Brennan Lee Mulligan, all of whom do voice acting and that kind of thing. Basically, they are given a bunch of impressions and improv prompts to report, including like animal noises and that kind of thing. So he just puts an animal noise up, and he's like, give me your animal noise.
Okay.
And I was about dying laughing at this. And as it goes on, there's they do one in the 4th episode where Josh Rubin gets murdered at the beginning, and it's a murder mystery trying to figure out who killed him. There is the one where they produce a giant mouth, and players have to feed it the correct food based on the clues provided. And then there was one that I saw, I think it's like season 2, that they're given a list of awkward and embarrassing phrases they have to say to people on the street to activate sleeper agents. And they have no idea if these people are actually involved or if they're just harassing some random people on the street. And one of the phrases is, nice to meet you, my name is Fred Fuckstone. And that phrase activated a 10-year-old girl. So in order to activate this agent, you had to say that phrase, and both of them these women who are doing this are like, I am so uncomfortable saying this to you.
What were you saying, Nick?
This sounds very uncomfortable.
It does, and I am not a cringe comedy person.
No,
I like Seinfeld and Curb, but it's not. It's just super fun.
Randy, that's your second comedic game show that you like, because you also like Taylor Tomlinson's.
I did, and it's similar vibe. It's like the game show element of it doesn't
It's
matter.
there just for framework for fun.
It's a structure, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I'm just getting to season 3, which is all filmed during the COVID pandemic, and it's all of them over Zoom doing this kind of shit.
Oh, interesting, yeah.
And it's kind of like all the people who would play Jackbox over Zoom and that kind of thing. So, a lot of fun. If you ever liked any college humor, definitely worth a look. I'm going to try some of their shows as well.
Okay.
What's the name of that one?
Dropout TV, and it's called Gamechangers. And you can find, if you want to get a sense of it, I know there are clips of it on YouTube because my son was watching a bunch of it and cracking up. Nick, to close this out, you were going to talk about a show on Peacock called Laid.
Yeah, so I didn't know much about the show. The big selling point is it's Stephanie Hsu.
I do like her.
It basically, who was in Everything Everywhere All at Once, and a bunch of stuff.
She won an award for that, or was she just nominated?
I think she was. No, I think she may have won. Now that you say it,
yeah.
Now that she's mentioned it, but she was also in Joyride, and she did a voice in Wild Robot, and was in Fall Guy.
Yep.
But I thought this has a crazy kind of synopsis that I will just read. It's basically. It's a rom-com, but in a kind of an odd way.
Yeah, okay.
Because after one of her ex-boyfriends passes away, other boyfriends that she had sexual relations with begin dying, but only in the order that she slept with them with. It is like this weird mystery sleuthing show that she and her best friend are... Because her best friend is like... huge into murder and crime TV and all that. So she does like a murder board.
Okay.
And it's darkly humorous, and But
doesn't she go to them and like try and
she does
interact with them and basically reopens kind of the old
a little bit, but she's also kind of like, do I go to the people and like try to stop them from being killed? Am I just going to be? Are they going to look at me like I'm crazy?
Yeah.
It definitely enters into just comedic territory, and Stephanie Shu is hilarious.
It's weird that it does that when people are dying.
I know, and it sounds kind of callous, but it's not. There is actually some heart involved in here. But Stephanie Shu, it's all about her comedy, and she, as a lead, this kind of shows her comedic chops in a way that we've seen kind of before in like Joyride, but not to this extent.
Yeah.
She is just like killing it.
And another friend who just binged it and really liked it.
But I mean, it's raunchy. It's sex forward. I mean, it is.
Yeah.
But I had a ton of fun with it. It's only 8 episodes. I blew through it like crazy.
Okay.
Honestly, I think
What's it on?
It's on Peacock. Which,
I'm off Peacock at the moment, but I'm going to go back to it at some point. I'll watch this. I'll go back to more Homicide.
I will say that Peacock is one of the more underrated streaming services.
Agreed. Yeah.
It's got a lot of good stuff. And this is an adaptation of an Australian story.
Okay.
Which I'm kind of curious to watch that one as well, just to kind of compare and contrast. But I found this one to be great and well worth your time.
Cool. All right. That is it for us this time. We'll be back next time with more. Until that time,
Yo,
Joe. Roguecast is a weekly podcast broadcast from Rogues Gallery Comics and Games in Round Rock, Texas. You can find us online on Facebook and at www.roguesgallerytx.com and email us comments or questions at roguesgallerytx@gmail.com. Thanks for listening.